everyone, to lesson number 1 of the AI Basics series at Minecraft College. And today we're going to talk about how to create an expert assistant on any topic. In almost every project that I do that is going to require collaboration with an AI to accomplish the task, I almost always start here. You want to bring the context necessary to the table so that an AI knows what it is that you're trying to accomplish and has the right resources to accomplish that. So if there was any subtext to this lesson, it's that context is king. An assistant that we're going to create here in just a second, you can think of as basically just a container that an LLM or a large language model has access to, that has information that it's going to need to accomplish a task. So your assistant is only going to be as good as the context that you have drafted and provided it before you attempted to tackle the problem. So let's just jump straight into it. We're going to start where most people are already familiar with some tools that you may have probably already used before. In particular, we have ChatGPT. Everyone's familiar with ChatGPT. Let's bring that up on screen here. And my personal go-to is Claude. So I have Claude Desktop here as well. You can do this in any AI tool, really. You could also use Gemini. I'm not going to pull Gemini up, but it's effectively the same thing. You get a chat interface, and you have some way of creating a container. In this case, it's going to be a project. Either in ChatGPT or in Claude, you're going to create a project, and you're going to assemble the context for that project. So how does one go about assembling context? The first thing I want to point you to is a tool called Deep Research, or just Research. Both ChatGPT and Claude have this capability. You'll find it under these menus. So if you click this plus button in ChatGPT, you'll see Deep Research. In Claude, if you click this plus button, you'll also see an item here, Research. So I would start here, and you're going to give it a task to go pull information about a particular topic that you're going to want to give to your assistant, who is going to help you solve some problem over multiple sessions. So for this exercise, we're going to assemble context for an assistant that should be really good at mod development for Minecraft. So we'll start here, and we'll enter something like, can you do some deep research on the best practices of mod development for a Minecraft Fabric 1.21.1 server. Before we get started, are there any questions you might have? So I'm just going to start here, and I'm going to make sure that I'm using GPT 5.2. We can leave it on auto. This research option is good enough. So we're going to enter that here and get it started. At the same time, I'm going to copy paste and do the same thing here in Claude. So here are some questions. Are you looking for best practices for client side, server side, or both types of mods? So definitely both. Will this be public server with many players or private server? So public server 3. Do you plan to develop your own mods or yes, develop our own mods and test locally first. Potentially interacting or intercepting behavior of other mods. Likely. Geez, I forgot how to spell likely. Likely interacting or intercepting behavior of other mods. Number 4, are you interested in performance optimization, compatibility management? Generally, but not in particular. We'll just say none. Okay, so those are the answers for ChatGPT. And then the questions for Claude, what types of play? Content mods with new blocks, items, world generation. Interesting, the types of questions that Claude is asking me here. What is your target scope? Are you building something lightweight for personal server use or something you want to publish to mod with CurseForge? That's a good question. Any specific technical areas you want me to dig into? Okay, so let's answer these. We're planning to build server side and client side mods. One idea is to create a custom HLS streamer to stream one's desktop directly in-game. Another might be to intercept the behavior of an existing mod and redirect it, i.e. Axiom overwrites flan territory protection. Okay, what's your target scope? So public server with many players in multiplayer. We want to share our work on CurseForge for other modpack builders to use. And then a general rundown of the landscape of technical areas would be helpful. What is a mixin? Generally, everything we're going to need to know to be knowledgeable of when to use a mod and when to use something else. Okay, so generally, so it's not going to be a fair head-to-head comparison here because, well, frankly, I think Claude asked me some better questions. I was able to be a little bit more specific. I do want to be generic because I want this context that we create to be reproducible for other mods, not just the ones that we're thinking about right now. This gives me so even more questions. Experience level baseline. Should I assume you're comfortable with Java? Comfortable with Java and standard development practices, but relatively new to everything. Minecraft ecosystem. Compatibility scope. Honestly, I'm not really sure. Distribution focus. When you mention CurseForge, do you also want coverage of the licensing? No, I can deal with that later. Yeah, so good questions, but not necessary. Okay, so yeah, ChatGPT is off doing its thing, and Claude is also creating a research plan. We're just going to let this run, and we'll be back when they've both completed. Okay, we're back. So ChatGPT finished its research first. You can see there's a very long document here. What we're going to do is we're going to download this document as a PDF. Download as PDF. Similarly, over here in Claude Desktop, you can see Claude's document here. Another very long document. We're just going to also download as PDF. We'll just call this the same name. Actually, let's just put this up front, Claude. Okay. Now that we have these documents downloaded, we're going to create projects. So in ChatGPT, we're going to open this sidebar and click New Project, and we're going to call it 1.21.1 Fabric Mod Assistant. Create the project, and we'll add the files that we've just downloaded. We're going to give both files. So we're going to give each agent, each project, the same files, so they're sharing their research effectively. So that is ChatGPT. We'll do the same thing over here in Claude. So I'll open the sidebar, and we're going to projects, new project. Okay, you don't need to create this description here. You can just leave it blank, just creating the container. And then under files, we'll do the same thing. Select both and upload. Okay. Now, this next step is really important. The very first conversation that you have with your project is to define the assistant system prompt. So a system prompt, in short, is a set of instructions that the model will read first before every interaction. So it's the initial context that the assistant has before it goes in and reads these PDFs that we've assembled. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have it draft a system prompt for an assistant that should do what we want to do here. So we'll say something like, please refer to the files in your context. Read them thoroughly, and then draft a system prompt for I'll just copy this. That will help an engineer build a mod successfully. Something like this. All right. I'm going to give the same thing to Claude. So rather than trying to draft your own system prompts, you should use AI to help that process of drafting. And that's what we're doing here. So you can kind of see what this says. We'll read it in more detail here in a second. Okay. So Claude is creating its version of the system prompt. So I'm just going to copy this code, copy this text basically. And with this copied, we're going to go back out to the assistant main page, and underneath this menu up here, there's an item that says add instructions. So we open that up, and this is where we paste the system instructions or the system prompt that defines you are a 1.21.1 Fabric mod assistant, a senior Minecraft Fabric modding partner. It's given core objectives. It's giving some operating assumptions. It's got a default workflow. You get the picture. So let's save that. And we'll do the same thing over here with Claude. So here's Claude's system prompts. Let's take a look. Right, you're a specialized AI assistant for Minecraft Fabric 1.21.1 mod development, core knowledge base, similar style of context. I'm going to copy that, and we'll go back out to the project, and under instructions, you'll click this plus button and you'll paste it there. Save instructions. So at this point, you've pretty much got everything ready to go to actually start doing collaboration. We have assembled the right context by first doing deep research and creating documents. Then we created the container or the project for the thing that we're going to want to do. Then we had our initial conversation with that project to define the system prompt for the behavior of the assistant. And then finally, we copied that system prompt back into the instructions to define that container and its behavior. Now I can pretty much ask any question that I want about creating mods for this environment. So let's just start with how would I create a mod that would essentially be an HLS locally hosted streaming server that could be displayed in game. We'll just give it a basic question, and I'll do the same thing over here with Claude. And so it's going to read all that context that we've created, and then will give us answers. This is going to be our best shot at collaborating with a very knowledgeable, deeply knowledgeable agent on this specific topic. I admit that the topic that we picked for this lesson is probably not the easiest one to comprehend. Some of you folks probably don't know what modding is in Minecraft. This is also a technical topic, so I'm creating an agent that will help do a technical project. But you can imagine this type of research, setting up context, and then having that assistant that's knowledgeable can be applied to any domain. So we're going to wrap up here. Probably going to take questions. We can talk about this particular topic. In my case, I will take these documents that we've just created and I will bring it into another environment like Claude Code, where I will actually do the planning for the execution of this engineering project. That isn't always going to be your next step if you're not doing a programming task like I am in this case, but this is what I'm going to do as a very next step. Okay, I hope this was not too deep and kind of gave you the idea on how to create an assistant, agnostic of the tool. So it could be ChatGPT, it could be Claude, it could be Gemini, it could be any of these assistant tools. They all effectively work the same way. Okay, thank you.